Field in New York. The New York Mets play the Baltimore Orioles. Tuesday Night Baseball is courtesy of Fios by Verizon. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Fios. The best way to watch your Mets all season long. Get the 100% fiber optic network. Visit getfios.com. By Fidelis Care. Here today, here tomorrow, here to stay. By Toyota. The Toyota Camry, Highlander, and RAV4 have something for everybody. Toyota, let's go places. And by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. Well, the Birds have arrived in town. One of the best players in baseball. How long, much longer will Manny Machado be a Baltimore Oriole? Adam Jones, also a free agent at the end of the year. A struggling Orioles team comes to town to face a Mets team hoping to get well. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open a two-game series against the Baltimore Orioles. The Mets get Todd Frazier back in the lineup tonight after nearly a month on the sidelines with a hamstring injury.
Well, he missed 24 ball games, and the veteran third baseman not only provided a good glove at third base, but also was hitting very much in the clutch. His 5 home runs and 21 RBIs in 32 games that he played were sorely missed. He's been out a month, and I think that's a good period of time for him to recover from that hamstring pull, and he is a welcome relief for this struggling Met ball club.
And certainly the Mets have struggled filling his spot, as you see from the numbers there. The Mets also get Anthony Swarzak back to help out their beleaguered bullpen. Meanwhile, the Orioles come to town with the worst record in baseball, but one of the best players in baseball, impending free agent, 25-year-old shortstop Manny Machado.
Well, this is one of the things about watching a team that's having a dismal year, is that you enjoy watching one of the best players in the game. Those are some of his numbers, but you think about it, he's not the reason they have the record they have. In his last 22 games, he's got 20 RBIs and 9 home runs.
Meanwhile, Jason Vargas will go to the mound for the Mets. 2 of his last 3 starts have been really good.
They have been. 5 innings variety. His last start, more impressive because it came on 3 days rest. They need Vargas to pitch like this at the back of the rotation for the Mets to get any steam going.
So the Mets, on the heels of a 4-game sweep at the hands of the Cubs, try to get well against the Orioles. Mets and Orioles. All the action coming your way on SNY. Available for the Mets-Yankees game Sunday, June 10th at 8:05 p.m. It's a McDonald's Family Sunday with the first 15,000 fans in attendance receiving a Jerry's Familia Fathead, courtesy of McDonald's. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, dedicated to advancing cancer research, treatment, and care. More science, less fear. By Citi, preferred card of the New York Mets. And by Buick, experience the new Buick with a test drive at your local Buick dealer. I like seeing that '69 World Series video. Not so much the Don Buford home run that led off Game 1 in the bottom of the first for the Orioles, the game the Mets lost. But the next 4 games went pretty well.
That's blasphemous to even show that home run given up.
That was a 1-0 game. Wasn't it? Seaver lost
4-1. Now it's time for your Lowe's whole team together, as Drupal Cabrera continues to lead most of the categories for New York despite his recent slump, as the Mets get set to play the Orioles tonight. Be at Citi Field Saturday, June 23rd, when the Mets take on the Dodgers at 7:15 p.m. The first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a home run apple figurine, courtesy of Delta Airlines. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. You're thinking of Game 1 in '86. That was a 1-0 game.
I know a little bit about
you remember that
game.
one?
Yeah, I do a little bit.
City looking beautiful on a gorgeous day in New York. Come on back. Mets and Orioles first pitch is coming right up.
Who pitched that game for the Mets?
Luther.
best reason to come watch the Baltimore Orioles play. Their star shortstop Manny Machado. He won't be an Oriole much longer, you wouldn't think. Free agent at the end of the year. Almost 100% chance they'll trade him. The only question is when and for how much. Here's the Orioles starting lineup. The two sluggers, Mark Trumbo and Chris Davis, have 6 home runs between them. And that's a big piece of the Orioles failing so far. They are last in the American League in runs scored this year, despite all that power in their lineup.
See the Toyota numbers. 2 of his last 3 starts have been shutout, 5-inning starts for Vargas. His best start probably as a pro came in 2014 when he won Game 4. The Royals swept the ALCS, swept the Bird.
Trey Mancini will lead off for the Orioles. Baltimore 17-41 started the night. The worst record in the major leagues. They've lost their last 7. They haven't played a game since Saturday. They got rained out against the Yankees on Sunday and had yesterday off.
That 7-game losing streak, they've scored a total of 12 runs.
Mets can empathize. Trey Mancini finished 3rd in the American League Rookie of the Year balloting last year, but he has slumped this year, hitting just .229. Jason Vargas set to go, and his first pitch of the night is a fastball in for a strike, and we're underway. Mets have had a lot of success against the Orioles over the years in interleague play. 22-10 against Baltimore, 10-3 in Flushing. And that's drilled into left field, and Mancini has a leadoff hit.
There's a changeup he hit there, Keith. Second pitch of the game.
Down the pipe. Stayed back nice. Head out down on the ball. A bullet to left field.
This is a very aggressive Baltimore team. They don't draw a lot of walks. And Adam Jones has 232 at bats this year. He's drawn 6 walks. 5-time All-Star Jones, who's also going to be a free agent at the end of this year, now 32 years old. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Vargas has had a lot of success against the Orioles, and it's reflected in Adam Jones's numbers against him. He's just 5 for 29 against Vargas, a 172 clip. Mancini, a leadoff hitter without much speed, is on at first, and the pitch is up and in for ball 1. In fact, Mancini has not even attempted a stolen base this year.
The 1 slot. No, go to what you're saying, Gary. Just get ahead of these hitters with a strike, and then you don't have to throw another one.
Jones has been the Orioles' best hitter against lefties this year, hitting .338 against left-handers, and a good changeup by Vargas to get ahead 1-2. 2 of Jason's last 3 starts have been excellent. 5 scoreless innings against Miami, and then most recently the 5 scoreless innings in Atlanta against the team that came into that game leading the league in runs scored. He's got Machado looming on deck.
Well, he's throwing more inside, particularly the last start in Atlanta.
And Jones laces one into center field. Another hit off the changeup, and the Orioles have the first 2 men on ahead of Machado. Not the beginning you want. Machado will come up with 2 on.
Well, the tough starts that Vargas has had, and we've been mentioning his good starts, have all been tough numbers in the first inning. He's gotten beaten early.
And there's a changeup that was down and in, and you want to get that changeup away.
In 6 starts this year, Vargas has given up 12 earned runs in the first inning. That's an 18 ERA. So here's Machado, 3rd in the American League in home runs, 2nd in RBIs, hitting .419 with runners in scoring position, and ideally you'd like to pitch around him every time he comes up the way the Orioles are going.
But this is not a situation to do that.
Can't do it with 2 men on, and a first pitch fastball outside.
You know, whenever we talk about pretty swings, we always talk about left-handed hitters. I think Machado has one of the prettiest swings you'll see in baseball from the right side.
Slightly open, a fairly open stance, straight up and down, no crouch.
And a changeup for a strike, 1-1. Player profile presented by Verizon. Manny Machado played 3rd base for most of his career, moved to shortstop part-time last year and then full-time this season. And he has started every game, and he takes the fastball just inside, 2-1. They had J.J. Hardy here, was a pretty good shortstop in his own right. That's why Machado began his career as a 3rd baseman, but his value even greater now as a multiply talented shortstop. And he lifts one foul. Frazier and Rosario chase. but it's in the crowd.
And your Metsy Lexus defense on the infield. Well, it's the same cast. The only newcomer, Todd Frazier, welcome back after missing a month of play at third base. Out in the outfield, Nimmo has played himself right into that lineup. He's not going anywhere. Conforto and Bruce round out the outfield. There's Todd.
Missed 24 games with a hamstring injury. First time in his career he'd been on the disabled list. 2-2 to Machado, and he throws a curveball at his feet, and it's 3-2. Danny Valencia is the cleanup hitter tonight against the left-hander. He's on deck.
Smiling at someone in the stands.
So an early tipping point for Vargas with the first two men on. 3-2 to Machado. And a comebacker goes behind Frazier's back and then off the glove of Cabrera. That's going to bring in the game's first run. Mancini is in. Jones goes to third. And the Orioles, 3 batters into the game, have a 1-0 lead.
How are they going to rule that? A base hit or an E4? Because there would have been a force. Change up 3-2. And it took a up hop. Well, I got to get. I'm a tough scorekeeper. I got the E4 there.
They're going to give Machado credit for a base hit.
Well, the shift was on and Cabrera was up the middle. He just didn't react quickly when that ball came off the bat.
So 3 straight hits against Vargas. A run home, first and third, still nobody out. And now the well-traveled Valencia, who's playing third base tonight.
All the hits on changeups so far in this inning.
Valencia now 33 years old. He's with his 7th different major league team. He was in Seattle last year. He's played a variety of places for the Orioles. Third base tonight. And a good changeup by Vargas, and it's 1-1.
Well, as Ronnie said, you don't have to throw a strike. There's the circle change. This is a free swinging ball club.
They come up to hit the ball out of the ballpark, each and every one of them.
Valencia's got 5 home runs, 3 of them against left-handers this year. Plawecki setting up inside. And he misses location but gets a strike. 1-2. Sam Holbrook is the home plate umpire tonight.
The less velocity you have as a pitcher, the more you have to pitch inside. It doesn't seem to make any sense, but that's how it goes.
There's the crew. Holbrook, the crew chief. Marquez, Rayburn, and Blakeney on the bases. 1-2 coming. First to throw to first. And nobody broke for home.
Well, a team with 41 losses, I don't think is going to have that kind of savvy.
Well, and I think Vargas knows better than to throw a lollipop to first base.
Lesson learned.
What was interesting coming out of that play against the Cubs, where Baez stole home on Sunday, was that Steven Matz afterwards said it didn't even occur to him that something like that could happen. So when you say lesson learned, I guess that's the case.
Well, the interesting thing was when he threw over was that Contreras had a 2-foot lead. There was no reason to throw over.
Well, only because he had broken towards second on the previous pitch. In the air to left, that'll bring a run in at least. Back goes Nimmo onto the warning track. He makes the catch. Tagging and scoring is Jones. Machado tagged, but he'll stay put at first. Sacrifice fly for Valencia produces the game's first out, but the Orioles' second run. This is the steal of home Sunday.
Watch how, look at the big lead down the third base line.
See, this is the one part that people aren't factoring in, and Steven Matz has got to be aware of. It's because of the shifting of infielders, it allows the runner on third to get whatever lead he wants to get. So you're almost inviting him to go.
But let me ask you this from a pitcher standpoint too, because this occurred to me later. Contreras took that 3 or 4 step fake towards second on the previous pitch. And these days in Major League Baseball, the throws to first base are called from the bench. So it's a situation where on the next pitch, Contreras is right on the bag. There's no reason to throw to first. but it had already been called
That's
from
right.
the bench that Matz had to throw to first.
But if he doesn't take a lead, you can take it upon yourself to just step off.
You can step off and just do that.
Just do that, you know, just a fake. So you don't, you know, if the guy is not off that dictates a throw, you don't throw the baseball. Anytime defensively, you don't have to throw it. You don't want to throw it. Only bad things can happen.
But in an era where the bench is calling those things, does the player feel obligated to go through with that?
I think a younger,
Yes.
less experienced pitcher would feel obligated absolutely to throw over.
So everybody got tricked on that play, and it really wasn't a trick play. It's just it's old-fashioned baseball. It's an old-fashioned baseball aggressive play, and you know, it caught me by surprise. I mean, Matt said it. He owned up to it, and it surprised me, and I got a full view from up here.
There goes Machado. The throw by Plawecki. Shade too late, and Machado has a stolen base, just his third of the year.
Well, he just broke from the belt, took a chance. Nice slide, too. Nice to see. Look at that. Foot to the bag.
So another runner in scoring position with one out. 1-2 to Trumbo, who missed the first month of the season with a quad injury. Just 2 home runs in 96 at bats since coming back.
I think on Sunday what could have gave it away, because Matt's made such a great play on the bunt by Lester on the suicide squeeze, is Joe Madden was telling you, I don't have Rizzo, I don't have Bryant in the lineup, I'm going to do something funky, you better be ready. And Mets weren't ready there.
Funky worked.
Funky town.
Funky but chic. Swing and a miss, and Vargas strikes out Trumbo for the second out.
Finally got an inside strike when he had to. Tied up Trumbo. Hard to believe he's only got 2 home runs.
47 2 years ago, 23 last year. Here's Jonathan Scope. Scope, who had a career year last year, made the All-Star team for the first time. 32 home runs, 105 RBIs, and he's struggling, hitting just .238. And he takes a changeup for a strike. Scope, a native of Curacao, 26 years old. Buck Showalter in his 9th year managing the Orioles. And for all their troubles this year, after a losing season last year, I have not heard anybody say that Buck was in any kind of danger.
He's one of the elite managers in the game. They've got a lot of free agents on this team, so next year going to be a complete overhaul, really, of this ball club.
They got Machado and Adam Jones and Zach Britton. They're all free agents.
Spend time with Buck Showalter is a joy. You ask him one question, and 20 minutes later, you're exiting the room. He has a brilliant mind. You always learn something when you hang out with Buck.
But this year's got to be wearing on him. This is a team that just hasn't done anything well. They haven't hit well. They haven't pitched well. They haven't played good defense. Vargas had 1-2 on Scope, trying to exit this inning, and misses inside on his 26th pitch. 2-2. Chris Davis, hitting 7th in the order against the left-hander, is on deck. And the curveball pulled foul down past Bobby Dickerson, the Orioles third base coach.
That would tell me something as a pitcher. That's the really first good swing he had, and it was at a breaking ball. The changeup he didn't like, out of the strike zone, fastball up. Those are the 2 pitches you have to go to.
Scope ignores the fastball away, and it's 3-2.
It's the setup, the changeup, right? Fastball away, he's trying to paint it. If he doesn't paint it, he'll throw the changeup right off that same area.
Pitch number 29 coming from Vargas. And Scope lifts one out to left. Nimmo's right there waiting for it. And that retires the side. 11th time this year the Mets give up multiple runs in the first inning. Orioles put up a 2 spot and jump out to a lead. Four games goes right into the cleanup spot, which has been such an area of concern for the Mets all year. And Alex Cobb, who's been a major disappointment after signing as a free agent, pitches for the Orioles.
Yeah, he signed, this is Land Rover numbers, signed on March 21st. 3 years, $57 million. His first 11 2/3 innings, 20 runs given up, first 3 starts.
Starts the night with a 6.80 ERA, but pitched one of his better games of the year last time out against the Nationals. Won a season high 7 innings, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, and a loss. Brandon Nimmo leads off. Brandon is hitless in his last 10 at bats, but his on base percentage leading off the game is .483. And after that first pitch, the Orioles, who were in an overshift, now unovershift. That's interesting. Figuring it goes the other way more with 1 strike.
Well, the thing with Cobb, what you're going to get is a pretty straight fastball, a little run to it. You're going to get that big breaking ball that he throws, and he also has a split finger change, which really is his signature pitch, especially against lefties.
He had some terrific years with Tampa Bay, but it's a career pockmarked by injury. Thoracic outlet surgery. He's had Tommy John surgery. He was hit in the head by a line drive, and all those things have happened in the course of Cobb's career. But he bounced back last year in a nice season with Tampa Bay. Taken low by Nimmo, and it's 3-1. 12-10, 3.66 last year, and that's what got him that nice contract with the Orioles. And now they go back to the overshift on 3-1. Interesting. They're going shifting count by count. And Nimmo takes a high strike, 3-2.
No wonder these guys got to keep flashcards in their back pocket.
Well, they might be shifting a lot, but they're not catching a lot. And that's the issue.
Cabrera and Conforto to follow in the opening inning. And Nimmo goes down swinging on a high fastball, and Cobb has a strikeout to start his night.
That's where Brandon has to be careful. He falls back on that high pitch. He's so bent in his back leg. And look at his body leaning back. And that makes you swing up. He's got to be, that's something he's got to be very cognizant of.
6 strikeouts now in Nimmo's last 11 at bats. And now as Drupal Cabrera has hit his first real slump of the season, 1 for his last 21. Dropped his average to 292.
Nice product placement there by the Orioles bench.
Did we just deliver free advertising?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Well, all that work, and what's it got him? 41 losses.
I mean, basically, they're looking at their iPad and positioning the infielders and outfielders pitch by pitch.
Pitch by pitch, exactly.
He's got a nice curveball, Mr. Cobb.
That was a ball, though, I think. Cabrera didn't like it. Sharp breaking ball.
Yes, it is. Not a lot of velocity, but it's got bite.
One, two. And the fastball sails over the glove of the rookie catcher, Austin Wins, who's making his major league debut tonight. Just called up from AAA Norfolk.
Used to be the
tad nervous.
That was the old Tidewater Tide.
Oh,
back in the day.
Spent too many days there.
Oh, it had to be fun.
And the curveball strikes out Cabrera, so back-to-back strikeouts for Cobb, who's been averaging less than 5 strikeouts per 9 innings.
The Jeep Oriole defense on the infield. Well, Machado, 2 Gold Gloves at third base. Valencia not known for his defense.
It's a wonderful sound effect.
Neither is Trumbo or Mancini.
The best part was when the vacuum cleaner powered down. The power down sound is the best part of the whole thing. You guys do not mess around with the cheap stuff. They only go for the best sound effects. Michael Conforto batting with 2 out. And the curveball stays high from Cobb, 2-0. Alex Cobb, now 30 years old, grew up in Vero Beach, Florida, where he was a bat boy for the Dodgers for 3 years during spring training. Sounds like a perfect start for a young, aspiring baseball player.
That was a good layoff by Conforto. 2-0, change up down and out of the strike zone, lays off.
And on 3-0, Michael takes a strike.
You know, it's the one thing that Cobb has always done. He hides the baseball pretty well. Seems to get up on you quickly.
Conforto smacks one in the air to center. Adam Jones, the 4-time Gold Glover, waiting for it. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Alex Cobb after being handed a 2-run lead. 2-0 Orioles after 1. Experience to catch every moment this season. Get New York Mets home screen icons and features such as the MLB.TV Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcasts, stats, news, and more. Download MLB at Bat today. Chris Davis, at one time one of the most feared sluggers in the game, has seen his game fall off a shelf. 2013 he had 53 home runs. 2015 he had 47 home runs. This year he has 4.
And he has what he always does, and that's strike out. And it's 75 strikeouts and 188 at bats. That will drive you to the psychiatrist.
Gets jammed and fouls it off. Chris Davis is in the midst of a 7-year, $161 million contract that runs through 2022. So 4 more years after this year.
Never liked 7 6-year contracts.
Unless you got one.
Exactly.
Well, kudos to his agent.
I mean, we said at one point a few weeks ago that maybe Jason Hayward has the worst contract in baseball. I think the Orioles would probably disagree.
Maybe.
Another 3-2 count.
Third one already for Vargas. And that's outside. He walks Davis, leading off in the second. First walk given up by Jason. Well, this Saturday, for the first time, games were played at Shannon Dalton Ford Memorial Field in Little Ferry, New Jersey, named in honor of the former Mets PR staffer who was so beloved both here and in her hometown, and Ronnie had a chance to be there Saturday.
So it's nice catching the first pitch from both of her children. That's her daughter Kendall, and I don't know, it's just as sad as it was the first time I was there, which was a year ago.
It's been over 2 years since her passing, but Shannon's legacy will never be forgotten, and I think the fact that that field is there is going to help everybody to keep a smile on their face in her memory. Here's Austin Wynns, the rookie catcher, making his big league debut, 27 years old. Went to Fresno State, where he was Aaron Judge's roommate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can't share any genes.
Well, I was going to think that maybe he felt a little, small.
The top bunk guy.
And he pulls one into left, and Austin Wynns has a base hit in his first big league at bat. And the Orioles have saved that baseball for safekeeping, and that smile as well.
Got himself a high changeup right there off the end of the bat, stayed level.
So really all 4 hits now have come via the changeup. There's the grip, but it's up
and out over the plate. It is not going well for Mr. Vargas right now early. Nice. There's a smile on your face. Get it out of the way.
27. That's a long time to wait for your first knock, right?
Well, he's hitting 1,000 in the big leagues. Now Alex Cobb, who's 1 for 17 in his big league career. And the bunt is fair, and Plawecki will have to go to first with it. Frazier did not retreat to cover third, and the sacrifice goes 2-4, moving the runners up. I'm not sure if he would have had a play at third.
I'm not sure either, Gare. I think it was out in front enough. See if the Mets bring the infield in. And they are, no, let's see, halfway.
Already down 2-0.
Halfway.
Have to, don't
halfway.
you?
I agree. I agree with halfway. Well, a base hit makes it 4-0.
I do disagree with you guys, though. I think he would have had a play at third base if Frazier had been even with the bag.
First career sacrifice for Cobb. So now Trey Mancini, who led off the game with a base hit, bats with 2 in scoring position. And Vargas's night is hanging by several threads. One thing the Mets have been able to count on over the last couple of weeks when everything else has been going wrong is that their starting pitching has been pretty good. Last 16 games, starters ERA is 2.48. And Vargas set a piece of that with 2 really good outings against Miami and Atlanta, but his other 4 starts this year have been not good at all. And now he's behind on Mancini, 2-0 with Adam Jones on deck.
Well, he has not been able to get that inside strike. He's missed inside. and it's getting him in trouble here.
There's a better changeup, and it's 2-1. Well, those were his last 2 starts. The poor one in Milwaukee, followed by the outstanding one against the Braves. Rocket mortgage breakdown on Jason Vargas.
87 big league wins in his career for Vargas.
Bouncing ball to Cabrera, coming home with the throw and the tag for the out. Davis trying to score from third with the infield playing halfway, and Cabrera made a perfect throw to Plawecki to get Davis for the second out.
Watch Cabrera, right of your screen, come and charge the ball. Come get it. Yes, sir, on the run. Nice play.
A little surprised they had Chris Davis running there with all the heat they got coming up. The ball tried to come out of that glove, didn't it?
So now runners at the corners with 2 out. Wins at third, Mancini at first, and Jones, the batter, had a base hit up the middle his first time up. And Vargas pops that fastball inside, ball 1.
And there he is, missing again with that fastball, just missing.
You know what, I would like to be reminded if I were Vargas, and even veteran pitchers should forget about this. What have we seen? He's become a 2-pitch pitcher, right? These first 2 innings, he has not used his curveball at all. That's something you'd like to remind your pitcher.
And Jones pops one up. Cabrera retreating. 2 hands for the out. Side retired. So Vargas able to keep the Orioles off the board in the second. Still 2-0 Baltimore. Todd Frazier ready for his first at bat off the disabled list. Todd last played May 7th in Cincinnati and plugged right into the trouble cleanup spot for New York. Facing Alex Cobb, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Todd played 3 games on rehab for Vegas and pronounced his hamstring and his timing good to go.
I was going to say, how about his wallet?
Not to be Vegas anymore. It's to be Delaware now.
That's right.
Frazier has rarely been out of the lineup over the course of his career. First time on the disabled list with the hamstring problem. Jay Bruce on deck, then Kevin Plawecki in the second.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It seemed to me when he first took a day for that hamstring, it seemed like he was just going to need a day or two to get back in that lineup, and next thing you know, he was gone for 24 days.
Well, he said he had been battling it for a couple of weeks, trying to play through it. Ultimately couldn't. Popped up. The catcher wins, battling it, and comes back to get it for the first out.
Nicely done by Wins, though.
So Frazier retired, 1 out, now Jay Bruce.
And it's been a real tough slog for Jay. Just hasn't been able to get on track. Been hitting a lot of balls in the air out in front. He took himself out of a game a couple days ago with a little lower back issues. I don't know if that's bothering him or not, but he certainly hasn't been able to get on track. It's just 15 RBIs and 3 home runs, and we're over 2 months into the season.
And then on top of his troubles at the plate, the play on Sunday where he failed to call off Luis Guillorme in what turned out to be a short sacrifice fly, which led Mickey Callaway to opine that Jay is taking his hitting out in the field with him. Something that I'm sure that Jay would dispute.
Outfielder always has is the traffic cop with the infielders.
I think if you flip it around and the eyes of the base runner, if the outfielder calls for the ball, that takes the base runner out of play. That takes him halfway down the line as opposed to tagging up.
The thing is, Contreras was down the line and then retreated at the last moment.
He wasn't down enough. Good change.
That's the third strikeout for Alex Cobb, who's not been striking people out at all, but he struck out 3 of the first 5 tonight.
You see that split grip I talked about before. He kind of turns it over and it kind of fades away from the left-handed hitter. Remember, Alex Cobb, when he was with the Rays in his prime, he was like a no-hit machine. Every night he was 5 no-hit innings. Amazing stuff.
I mean, you made the point. He signed very late with the Orioles, didn't sign until March 21st, and then did not have rehab starts. The story I heard was that the Orioles, because of Cobb's Tommy John history, wanted him to use a major league ball in minor league starts, and he was refused that, so they didn't want to put him in a minor league game, so they just had him do simulated games before he came back, and obviously he needed spring training, which he never got.
Well, Vargas is another one. There's only been a few. Like Arrieta really has had a good start to his season without any spring, or not a lot of spring.
But there were so many free agents who signed late because of the way the market ran this winter, and this is the upshot of that. 1-2 to Kevin Plawecki, who's 1 for his last 13, and he bounces 1 foul.
Little flame-tempered bat used by Plawecki.
I like that bat. I never was able to get one of those as a pitcher.
I never liked the flame. I always thought maybe it would dry the wood out. I just didn't like the flame on it. The only heat I wanted was contact, when the ball contacted the bat.
Couldn't you just draw the pretty lines on the bat if you like the style? Doesn't have to be actual flames, does it?
I mean, I just wanted it because it looked nice. You know,
that's my point.
I wasn't going to do too much with it.
So you could have taken a regular bat and painted flames.
I guess I could have, but you just wanted the authentic one. It's good looking.
You know, I actually tried. You could get your bat totally unfinished.
Yeah, that's what I would get.
And I felt that the wood was a little soft when you didn't have some kind of treatment on it.
3-2 from Cobb. And Plawecki takes high, and the Mets have their first base runner of the night.
I'm sure it's not like this anymore, but I always felt like when you were a kid, you ever shop for those Converse that had like the 12 eyelets on one side and 6 on the other side? They weren't, you know, the true great Converse. They were like the ones thrown in the
irregulars.
The irregulars. That's the bats the pitchers used to get. The irregular bat.
The blems.
It's like, give him that bat.
The Chuck Taylors?
Chuck Taylors. There you go. Thanks.
I think you were buying the Chick Taylors.
I was. I was.
Here's Adrian Gonzalez hitting 7th in the order. And he takes a fastball in the corner.
It was very cool wearing the Chuck Taylor Converse white high tops in basketball season.
Ooh, good move.
Unfortunately, Plawecki's not going anywhere.
Well, Cobb's got one of the best right-handers pick-off moves in the game. Finalist for the Gold Glove in the American League last year. Good curveball has Gonzalez flailing, and it's 0-2.
Well, unlike Jason Vargas, Cobb has been working on top of the count for most of the hitters here early.
That's a faced Cobb only once before, and that was 6 years ago when he was wearing a Tampa Bay uniform, and they beat him up pretty nicely that day. Gave up 6 runs in 6 2/3. That's a long time ago, and there are only 3 Mets in the lineup today who've ever faced Cobb before, and nobody has more than 5 at bats against him, and that would be Frazier. One and 2 to Gonzalez.
So you can see Cobb's game plan if you're watching, folks. He is trying to tantalize you with the slow stuff, and when he gets ahead, tries to dart a fastball on you.
He's got a little sneaky fastball upstairs. Has a little run to it.
In part because Cobb has had such a tough start. The Orioles are second from the bottom in the American League in staff ERA, and a 5 ERA coming into the day.
Ouch. Only Kansas City has a worst ERA. They're come into today's action with a 5.49. 5.5 runs a game. Earned runs. Oh.
Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to Gonzalez, and Adrian lifts another foul ball.
Got a hanging changeup right there. Missed it. You can tell. Angry at himself. Happens. I'm surprised he hasn't gone back to the curveball, which he used earlier in the count. Got a swing through by Gonzalez.
Again, the 2-2, and he lays off, and it's low and in, full count.
Adrian always had a good knowledge of the strike zone. Very disciplined hitter.
Well, Cobb retired the first 2 batters in the inning. He's thrown 15 pitches since. Walked Plawecki. Now he's about to throw his 9th pitch to Gonzalez, with Plawecki running. And it's in the air to right field. Trumbo moves over. The second baseman right in the neighborhood. Trumbo makes the catch. Shifts make for some strange scenes out there in the outfield. Mets get their first base runner, but Plawecki is left stranded. No, a 2-0 after 2. Down 2-0. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs' report tonight. It's courtesy of Fios by Verizon. Steve.
Gary, all 4 of Baltimore's hits so far tonight have come off of Jason Vargas changeups, a pitch that's really crucial to his success. I asked Mickey Callaway if the changeup was the most critical indicator of a Jason Vargas successful night, and he said no. He still thinks it's the fastball, making sure that fastball is down and painting both corners. That being said, in the 2 starts that Vargas has been so good this year, the changeup has been his primary pitch, one that he's used more than any other pitch, whereas those other 4 starts, which have been noticeably worse, he was not featuring that pitch as much. Clearly didn't have the same feel for it.
His overall use of the changeup this year, 30%, which is a very high figure. Manny Machado leads off in the 3rd. Machado snuck one off the glove of Cabrera for a base hit that drove in the first Baltimore run. His 48th run batted in, 2nd in the American League. And he shoots one foul, and it's 1-1. Danny Valencia on deck, and then Mark Trumbo for the Orioles in the 3rd. Machado just 25 years old. He was the 3rd overall pick by the Orioles out of high school in Miami in 2010. So like Bryce Harper, he's going to be a very young free agent. And given the trends in baseball now as far as the value of younger versus older players, which we saw particularly acute on the free agent market last winter, Machado is in a position to cash in. Gets this one out to left. Nemo has it measured, and that's the first out. So you wonder, first of all, how much a Machado or a Harper might make on the free agent market. But even before that, since Machado is almost certain to be traded sometime before July 31st, what can he bring back, and how much can the Orioles benefit from trading him now rather than waiting another month and a half?
Yeah, I think most of the time you want to wait, but in this with your team 17-41, I think you bring more if you can give Machado or trade Machado to a team that has him for 4 months instead of 2 months. I think you would bring more right now.
I mean, teams have been loath to give up the store for rentals. That's looped out to shallow left, and on comes Nemo to dive and make the catch. Nicely done by Brandon on a sinking line drive off the bat of Danny Valencia. 2 out.
Nimbo comes in real well on a ball in front of him. Gets a good jump. He's very athletic. I mean, it's all about getting there. Once you get there, you're going to make the catch.
And it's not going to last long, but he has become very comfortable in left field, in my opinion.
Well, we'll see how much longer it lasts. UNS Cespedes took some at bats in a simulated game today, facing Noah Syndergaard.
Oh.
That's not easy.
No, I was like, no, thank you.
Easy service. But nobody seems to know when Cespedes is coming back, whether he's going to go out on rehab, and he's not talking. Fouled away by Trumbo, and it's 1-1. Trumbo struck out his first time up. Well, the most prominent free agents coming up after the season's over, of course, are Machado and Harper. Clayton Kershaw could be a free agent. He's got an opt-out.
That's right.
Given his current circumstances, that would seem unlikely that he would opt out.
Keuchel has been kind of the 5th best starter on that staff.
Oh, boy.
And there's a better curveball by Vargas. Pilecki makes the play to first, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Jason Vargas. Second strikeout. He's gotten Trumbo both times. 2-0 Orioles.
All got their gloves. Nice.
Anxious.
SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Jason Vargas leads off in the home third against Alex Cobb and slashes one foul. Vargas 1 for 7 at the plate this year. Lifetime .250 hitter. Not too many pitchers can say that.
Well, when he was at Long Beach State, he used to DH when he didn't pitch. So, I mean, that's a long time ago.
Most of those at bats came in his first 2 years in the big leagues in Florida. Back when they were the Florida Marlins.
That's right. Been in the American League forever.
And he lines one to left center, but Jones comes over to get it. 1 out. Let's look at tonight's Verizon trivia question, shall we? Which member of the 3,000 hit club has the lowest career batting average? It's a fascinating question.
Wow.
How many members?
How many
24 now? Something like that?
Yeah.
Pujols was the latest. It's more. Maybe it's more than that.
32.
There's Rosario, and he takes a strike. 32. Rosario 3 for 16 in the recently completed series against the Cubs, and he dribbles one. Cobb, a good fielder, off the mound to get it. and threw it into the runner, but Davis did well to pick it, and that's the second out.
Davis almost picked it off the top of the head of Rosario. He had a good grip on it. Ball just sailed a little bit on him.
So 2 out and nobody on. Mets still looking for their first hit. And now here's Brandon Nimmo, who's been specializing in a hit of a different kind. He's been hit by 8 pitches this year. Curveball for a strike.
Well, when you throw sidearm, look at the ball will run into the runner.
I was always taught on that play, if you could, can't always do this, but if you can, keep your weight over your chest, keep your weight kind of moving forward. If you throw it leaning back, it automatically will head to the right.
Wouldn't do that anyway if you're a sinker ball pitcher.
Yeah.
So I mentioned Nimmo has 8 hit batsmen this year. He's more than halfway to the Mets club record. Club record is 14.
That's shocking to me.
Which is held by, and I didn't even realize this, Lucas Duda. I always thought Ron Hunt must have a single season record, but Hunt, who has the big league record for most being hit by a season, that was 50, but that was when he was at the Expos. Never more than 13 as a Met. Nimmo down on strikes, and Cobb has 3 hitless innings under his belt. That's his 4th strikeout. Second time he's got Nimmo. 2-0 Birds after 3. Fourth inning, 2-0 Baltimore. Jonathan Scope leads off against Jason Vargas, who gave up 2 runs in the first, pitched out of trouble in the second, and then worked a 1-2-3 third. Scope flying to left his first time up. So it's our first time getting together since Mickey Callaway's post-game comments on Sunday night when he talked about the pressures of playing in New York in reference to his team's recent poor play. He said, quote, New York is tough on players. It's tough on everybody. If they were in Cleveland or somewhere else, maybe they wouldn't feel that pressure, but you're playing in New York. And I wanted to ask you guys a couple of questions. First of all, the premise. That's pulled toward the hole and a base hit for Scope. And that's the 5th hit for the Orioles against Vargas. Now, we all understand that New York is the media capital of the world, and as such, there's more media in the clubhouse, more questions to answer. But my question to you guys who played in this town and also played in smaller towns is, when you're between the lines, does that have any impact on you at all? Does it make a difference that you're playing in New York or for a New York team as opposed to a smaller market team once you get on the field?
Well, one thing in my experience coming from St. Louis, and I certainly came over as a veteran established, is that New York, Boston, Philly does have that reputation. And it can be daunting. You know, you've heard, can this athlete play in New York? Those that haven't prospered in New York. Well, he couldn't play in New York. He didn't know how to play in New York. I felt a little pressure, but I think, Gary, for me, if I had gone to San Francisco with a big contract, I would have felt the pressure just as much there with a new fan base. So, but it's all about once you get on the field, you have to perform. And I don't think it's any different, to be honest with you. I don't feel there's any difference.
I absolutely feel there's no difference once you step in the white lines. Now, there's ancillary things that can happen in New York. As Chris Davis flies out, I believe it'll be to Nimmo and left. And what I mean by that, of course, the obvious things. There's more media, there's more people to talk to. It's walking on the street if you had a good outing and someone patting you on the back. It's having a bad outing and someone saying, darling, you're a bum. All that ancillary stuff. Between the white lines, it didn't matter to me. And in fact, if you embrace it, I felt this way. New York can make you a better player. I think playing in this town keeps your nose to the grindstone because you can't let up because of all the ancillary things that can happen.
Okay, so that's interesting to hear from guys who actually experienced it. As Wins pops one up on the left side, and Frazier will take care of this. So let me ask you the next question, which is, as a player, what is the impact of hearing your manager say publicly that your less than perfect play might be in part the result of the pressure of playing in New York? What does that do for a team and for the individual players on that team?
I don't think it has any effect on a player like Brandon Nimmo, Michael Conforto, young players that are trying to make their way in the big leagues. You don't pay attention to the little things outside your little box of what you got to do. You're trying to make your way to the big leagues. Veteran players, you may get a raised eyebrow. They've been around and they've played for maybe 3, 4, 5 managers. Who knows? My feeling is, you know, starting in spring training, it was going to be the big statement, and the mantra was a change of culture, accountability, and that smacks right in the face of it. As far as of that mantra, and you don't want to hear that from your manager. That's for sure.
Cobb strikes out to end the inning. We'll talk more about this when we come back to the bottom of the 4th. Orioles 2, Mets nothing. Wrap up this 2-game series. Then the Yankees are in over the weekend. We'll have the game for you on Friday night. Our pals from Fox and ESPN will be with you Saturday and Sunday. Then the Mets begin a long road trip. Atlanta, Arizona, Colorado. 9 games starting on next Tuesday night in Atlanta.
The rare 3-man booth tomorrow afternoon, Keith.
Oh, I'm just so thrilled and excited about that.
Alex Cobb hasn't allowed a hit over the first 3 innings. He's got a 2-0 lead as Drupal Cabrera will lead off the home 4th. So we were talking about Mickey Callaway's comments about the pressures of playing in New York, and Keith talked about how he felt players would receive that message. What do you think, Ronnie?
I think the same in this way, is that it's only human nature when you have a manager with no experience and he takes the helm, is that everyone's going to have an eye on you, whether it's the press, whether it's fans, and whether it's your own team. And I think the only issue I had with it is that on Friday night he kind of ripped into his team for not playing baseball correctly, and then on Sunday became more of an apologist for his team. So to me, that's conflicting messages. Like, where are you taking us? Because when a team struggles, the man at the leadership, the manager, he's got to be steady, man, as steady as like over steady. You know, like, you have to be just a rock for all your players and say, listen, you just get on my back. We're going through this bad time. I'll take it and we'll get out of this, but we're going to do it together. You have to be like that, and you can't start giving conflicting messages. That would be the only issue I would have.
Cabrera hits one sharply down to first, and Davis handles it for the first out. So I guess what you're saying is that what we're seeing may be just part of the growing pains of a new manager, and, you know, parenthetically, a guy who's really not familiar with New York, right? This is his first time around in New York, and maybe some of what he's expressing is what he's feeling.
Oh, I think that's an absolute. I think, you know, what happens is that you think you know this town until you come to the town, and then it's a, you know, Keith was talking about coming from St. Louis, but he was already an established player. You know, part of my learning curve was learning how to play in this town. What made it easier, and I'm still going back to the first question you asked us, you know, we were lucky enough to have 45,000 people, it seemed, every night. So you just, if you embraced it, it brought you places that you never thought you could go, or at least in my case.
I want to go back to one more thing Keith was talking about, and that was the culture of accountability that was loudly expressed, and we saw quite a few examples of early on. And I want to ask you one question, which is aside from the Callaway comments the other night, and that is the fact that Yoenis Cespedes, who took some swings today against Syndergaard and has been on the disabled list, the Mets' best player, has not spoken to the media in a month. Is that part of the culture of accountability? Is that a problem for the manager, for the organization, as Conforto strikes out for the second out?
I am speculating here, Gary, but I think that there's no control over what Cespedes wants to do and doesn't want to do. If he doesn't want to talk to the press, you can't force him. And we've seen enough. He's been here enough, and he's clammed up more than once. And my feeling is, you're a professional athlete. If you're in uniform and in the clubhouse, it's part of the job to mix and answer questions to the media. And you just can't say, hey, I don't talk to the press because when I'm on the DL. That does not wash with me.
Todd Frazier's second at bat. He fouled out his first time up.
Gary, you brought up that Alex Cobb's best start was probably his last start against the Nationals. 7 innings, only 3 runs given up, and now he's trying to put back-to-back games here.
Well, he certainly is a better pitcher than his numbers so far this year would indicate. We all know that. Broken bat flare. Scope has to come to the other side of the bag and throws out Frazier to end the inning. So 4 hitless innings for Alex Cobb. And a 2-0 Orioles lead after 4. Jared Kelenic and all the Mets draft picks on Mets blog presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. And congratulations to Waukesha, Wisconsin outfielder Jared Kelenic. 6th overall pick in the draft. Mets took him yesterday, left-hand batting outfielder. And when you look at his background, his profile, where he's from, his lack of playing high school, has to remind you of Brandon Nimmo,
Yeah.
right?
Well, a lot of players are now opting to kind of decide how they're showcased to major league scouting combines, bureaus, whatever.
I like getting players when they're young.
Well, you were there at one time, right?
And they get developed in the system.
Pulled down the line and off the foot of the third base umpire Ryan Blakeney, but in foul territory.
Sometimes you can't get out of the way because you got to make the call. Look, he's shaking it off. Very good, Ryan.
Nah, it wasn't hit hard. Low exit velocity.
Makes Mancini feel horrible about himself, but
Trey Mancini's 1 for 2. Singled and scored in the first inning. Grounded into a fielder's choice at the plate in the second. Orioles got both their runs in the first against Vargas, who settled in second time through the order. Now he gets the third time through. And it's 2-2 to Mancini, with Jones and Machado to follow. Orioles are trying to snap a 7-game losing streak, having scored just 12 runs in those 7 games. The Mets are trying to snap a 4-game losing streak in which they've scored 6 runs in those 4 games. So you got 2 teams on kind of a similar arc right now. Difference is that the Orioles haven't played well at any point this year, and while the Mets had that terrific start at 11-1. Already 23 games out of first place on the 5th of June.
And you thought the 77, 78, 79, and 80, 81, 82, 83 Mets were bad.
That's the furthest that a team has been out of first place on this date since 2001, when Texas was this far back. Mancini down on strikes. That's the 4th strikeout for Vargas. I mean, it just has all gone badly.
Did you say 1981, the Texas Rangers?
2001.
Oh, 2001. Okay.
Yeah. No, 81. That would have been why they drafted him.
That was what I was thinking. You were 17, weren't you, Keith, when you were drafted?
Let me think on that, Ron. Yes, I was. That's right. I graduated when I was 17. I was not because I skipped a grade. It's just where I was, the month I was born.
Adam Jones is 1 for 2 tonight. Well, draft day is always such an incredibly emotional experience for players who, you know, worked so hard to get to that point.
Kids do it more in public now. I remember I found out about how I was picked in the draft not only by telephone, but Western Union telegram was sent to my house. Ron Darling, you have been selected by the Texas Rangers in the first round, 9th pick overall.
You didn't get a call?
I got a call too, but I remember getting that in the mail, and today I was looking for it to try to do a little show and tell with you folks. Of course, couldn't find it.
I still got my letter from Bing Devine, who was a general manager, welcoming me to the Cardinal family. Wow.
So now Ronnie was a first-round pick. You were a 42nd round pick.
But I was a.
They thought you were going to college, right? So that's
No. I quit my senior year in high school.
So did you get the phone call and the telegram and all that?
I got the phone call and the letter, and then the contract. Minimum $500 a month. You couldn't make more than that your rookie year.
Right.
In minor leagues.
It was 600 by the time I went to the minor leagues.
There was no negotiating that when you were a 42nd round.
Goal to the right side. Cabrera to his left. And throws out Jones 2 away. But, you know, being a first rounder, you get a little more substantial bonus.
Big time. I think what happened to me, I mean, certainly not what the kids get today, but what happened to me is that Seattle had the #1 pick. They approached my parents and said, listen, we'll make him the #1 pick if he signs for X amount. My parents and myself said, you know, I was worth more than that. But I also had some, like, I wanted to start in AA. I did not want to start in single A. And a lot of teams were put off by that. You didn't really dictate to teams where you're going to go. And they got, some organizations got pretty angry at my representation because of that.
Manny Machado pops one up into shallow right. And Bruce puts it away, and Vargas is now set down 6 in a row. We're halfway through. Alex Cobb and the Orioles up 2-0. Against Alex Cobb, Jay Bruce will lead off. And takes a fastball inside for ball 1. Jay struck out his first time up tonight, 0 for his last 10. Mets in their last game on Sunday were held without a hit until the 6th inning by John Lester. Good curveball by Cobb, and it's 1-1.
Kind of swings on that curveball, so it shows you how big that break is.
It's got snap. It's a snappy Tom.
I love that. Change up low, and it's 2-1. Plawecki and Gonzalez to follow. Pitcher spot due up fourth in the inning, but no action in the Mets bullpen. Vargas, who's basically been limited to 5 in most of his starts, has thrown 79 pitches today. It's pulled down to first. Pass Davis, and off the sidewall. Scope, who is playing deep, is there to field it. So Bruce will still settle for a single. The Mets' first hit of the night.
How can you have a shift to pull and not have the guy on the line?
Well, look where Davis is at. And so he's not being told by the second baseman or the shortstop in this case that the changeup's coming and you shade over the line. We did it all the time back in the old Cardinal and Met days.
It's called having a feel.
It's called communication.
So Cobb gives up his first hit, and now Plawecki, who's been the only other Met base runner, he walked in the second. The way as you think through this inning with Vargas' spot 2 batters away. Remember that the Mets have a more fortified bench now than they've had. With the return of Frazier, the Mets now have a 5-man bench for the first time in weeks.
And a rested and more fortified bullpen.
Exactly. Not as many bodies in that bullpen, but all rested. And of course, Swarzak coming back from the DL changes the equation greatly. Swarzak and Frazier activated today. Bauman and Gerson Batista sent down. That's lined down the line by Plawecki. He's got a base hit. Bruce will go first to third. Plawecki will go to second. And the Mets have the tying runs in scoring position with nobody out. Second double of the year for Kevin Plawecki.
Turns on this fastball. Two-seamer. Inside corner. That ball ran in, and he just said, I got this one.
You know, I was asking a lot of people in the Baltimore organization what's been happening to Cobb. And he said, really, what it has been is he's pitched well in spurts, but then he has that one bad inning. A couple of hits and a long one.
And as Gonzalez steps in, the Mets get the bullpen going. Seth Lugo is up with Vargas for the moment on deck. See how it plays out. Infield back for the Orioles with a 2-run lead. And Gonzalez takes a curveball at his feet, and a good stop by the rookie catcher wins ball 1.
Always love that. And when the pitcher's in trouble, doesn't want to throw that first pitch fastball, and he misses badly with his secondary pitch.
Those sideburns. Wins looks like Andy Etchebarren behind there.
Lugo, after one turn in the rotation, back in the bullpen to fortify that unit. Gonzalez flied out to right his first time up. And Adrian fouls off the changeup, and it's 1-1.
That's nice numbers there.
26 RBIs for Gonzalez. And he pops it up. It's not going to be deep enough to get Bruce home. Machado gets called off by Mancini, and that's the first out, and the runner's home.
Well, a very similar play we talked about was the Bruce play with Guillorme a few days ago. There's the outfielder there taking charge.
Well, now the Mets will pull back Vargas and send up Jose Bautista as a pinch hitter. So Vargas is done after 5 innings, and the Mets will try and get him some runs.
Bautista's got to have some at-bats against Mr. Cobb.
Facing each other in the American League East for years. Bautista 3 for 17 against Cobb.
So he's had his problems.
Jose went 2 for 13 in the series against the Cubs. Batting here with second and third and one out.
I always like to start a guy off the bench. He's looking first pitch fastball. Still like to start him with a breaking ball. Little wrinkle.
Ooh.
And he does, but it's over his head.
The first one he's missed badly with.
Bautista's 0 for 4 as a pinch hitter this year, 0 for 2 as a Met. Bruce at third, Plawecki at second with one out. And he crowds him. 2-0. Mets have gone 21 straight innings without a run since Michael Conforto's 6th inning home run on Saturday night. And now 3-0 to Bautista with Ahmed Rosario waiting on deck.
Doesn't want any piece of Bautista to me.
Got to be careful here with a 3-0 hit sign. I would not be surprised.
Cobb threw first pitch strikes to 10 of his first 12 batters, but none to the last 5 batters. And there's a borderline strike. Bautista had the mini bat flip in his aborted move toward first base. He can do much better than that. We've seen.
Mets fan like to see one right here.
I think he can get a full-on ALDS bat flip.
No, not the full one, but.
Fouls back the changeup, and it's 3-2.
Big rip. Boy, he takes a nice level cut on that high pitch. That's why Bautista has had success.
72 hits.
Alex,
46 and a third.
Yeah, Alex Cobb is one of only 12 pitchers in Major League history to lose 7 of his first 9 starts in a season with that high an ERA. Last one was Philip Umber in Houston in 2013. 3-2 coming, and Bautista hits it deep to left field. Mancini back at the edge of the track to grab it. That will bring in the run. Bruce tags and scores, and over to third goes Plawecki. So the Mets break a 21-inning scoreless drought with a sacrifice fly off the bat of Bautista, and it cuts the Orioles' lead to 2-1.
There's nothing not to like about what Bautista's done since he's been here.
That ball get in on him or a little
Got
bit?
in just a little bit.
So now the tying run at third with 2 down. And here's Rosario, who had a comebacker his first time up. Plawecki at third with 2 out. Full windup from Cobb. And a first pitch curveball in for a strike. Two games in 24 hours constitute in this series. Tomorrow afternoon, Zach Wheeler goes for the Mets. Dylan Bundy, who I guess you'd probably have to say has been the Orioles' best starter, goes tomorrow for the Orioles, your city probables. Certainly the most talented.
Yeah. Well, he's had probably the biggest games. He's a guy that if he has his A stuff, could have a miserable afternoon.
And then the Mets should have DeGrom, Matz, and Syndergaard lined up for the Yankees over the weekend. Syndergaard threw a simulated game today, 25 pitches, and should be good to go for Sunday night. Hit slowly foul, and that is what enables the Mets to move Lugo back to the bullpen, which makes that unit that much stronger. With the off day yesterday, the off day on Thursday, Mets can wait till Sunday to slot Syndergaard in there and go with just 4 starters till then. 0-2 to Rosario. That's too high. Cobb threw 101 pitches in his last start in 7 innings. Thrown as many as 103 in a start this year. And Rosario pops one up. Wins hoping for room, but that'll be back in the crowd.
Cobb really effectively using that high fastball out of the strike zone. Got a little life in that fastball. He's not overpowering. He's sneaky, and then he drops that yellow hammer on him up and down the ladder.
Seventh pitch of the at bat to Rosario, and he grounds the curveball up the line, a foul ball. And he'll come back and do it again. Last time the Orioles won a game in Flushing, 2006.
Really?
Winning pitcher for the Orioles that day, Chris Benson, after he was a Met. Rosario keeps on wasting them away. One of the longer turns at bat he's had this season. Because at bats are often blink and you miss it. But pitch number 9 coming from Cobb. And Rosario fouls another fastball.
This at bat possibly take him out of this game.
Certainly pushing the Orioles closer to their bullpen, which has been unwieldy. Pitch number 10 to Rosario, and he struck him out to end the inning. Used the changeup to get him on that 10th pitch. 6 strikeouts for Cobb, but the Mets get their first run. Bautista drives it in. 2-1 Orioles after 5. Thursday against the Cubs, comes out of the bullpen tonight where he has been most effective.
Well, if you think about the Mets, a big run early this season is because of Lugo and Gazelman in that bullpen able to go multiple innings.
You see the overall numbers for Seth, who had 4 scoreless innings as a starter Thursday. Danny Valencia will lead off in the 6th, and he bounces one to Rosario. Nice big hop. And Ahmed throws him out. 1 pitch and 1 retired for Lugo. And we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
You know, Gary, every time we see a reliever warming up in the bullpen, we see Ricky Bones, the bullpen coach, standing next to them holding this clipboard. And we were wondering what is on that clipboard. So I did what any good reporter would do. I went up and I asked him, and it's basically just scouting reports. He has a page on each opposing hitter, but the top page of the clipboard is what's interesting to me, because Ricky Bones actually keeps score throughout the game and makes notes of how pitchers are getting the opposing batters out. And then when he stands next to the pitchers warming up in the bullpen, he's giving them not just the scouting report, but also what's been working against those hitters that evening.
Steve, when he is charting the game, is he doing it off the TV, or is he doing it from 500 feet away?
I would assume, I haven't asked, so I'm speculating here, but I would assume that it has to be off of TV, because I just can't imagine you can see the details that he was describing from where he is out in the bullpen.
Sorry, Ricky. You're going to watch us.
I'm sure he has the sound down. Mark Trumbo struck out his first 2 at-bats against Vargas, who went 5 innings, allowed 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, 79 pitches. Both the runs coming in the first inning. Lugo behind a power hitter, 3-0. And Trumbo swinging 3-0, flies it out to left center, playable for Conforto. 2 out. You know, the Mets have had a power outage from some of their big bats this year, but you look at the Orioles, who have Davis, who has hit as many as 53 home runs in the season, and Trumbo has hit as many as 47, and they have 6 between them. More than a third of the way through the year. And Trumbo missed a month, so you give him a bit of a pass, but he's now at 99 at bats with 2 home runs. Guy who hit 47 as recently as 2 years ago. There's Jonathan Scope, who had a base hit to left his last time up, and he takes a curveball for a strike. Bounced on 1 hop to Frazier, and across the diamond for the 3rd out. So Lugo makes quick work of the Orioles in the 6th through just 7 pitches. 2-1 Orioles, bottom of the 6th. Home 6th inning, 3rd time around the batting order for Alex Cobb, who has struck out Brandon Nimmo twice tonight. And Nimmo takes a fastball away. Brandon now 0 for his last 12 with 7 strikeouts in that span after a stretch where he had 11 extra base hits in 11 games. Having trouble with contact right now. Not quite to Aaron Judge levels. Ooh. Judge won a place no one had ever been before. 8 strikeouts in a doubleheader. Never happened before. When he hits them, they go a long way.
I like his swing. He's going to be fine. He's going to strike out, but he's got a nice stroke.
I'm very interested in seeing Judge against DeGrom Friday night.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole lineup.
That would be a lot of fun.
The whole lineup is going to be a real test for
Well, I mean,
Jacob.
DeGrom has faced Stanton before.
Yeah.
He's faced, you know, but
it's a notch in your belt kind of game.
Nimmo's got to start hitting line drives in BP. He's getting that uppercut swing, and he's getting a lot of swings and misses now upstairs. He's got to focus on the line drive. He's a table setter par excellence.
third time Nimmo has struck out tonight. 7 on the night for Cobb. Let's check in with the studio. Doug Williams has a game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. Nine pitches, 3 strikeouts. Second time in his career he's done that. Here's Asdrubal Cabrera, who has struck out and grounded out. Mets have had 2 hits. They came back-to-back in the 5th inning. A single for Bruce, a double for Plawecki. A Jose Bautista sacrifice fly drove in a run. And that's been it for the Mets, who had gone 21 innings without a run before that sac fly. And it is not helping now that Cabrera has hit the first rough patch of his season. 1 for his last 23. 94 pitches for Cobb. Nobody up behind him in the Orioles bullpen, at least not yet. The Orioles, remember, are missing the 2 biggest pieces in their pen. Their closer Zach Britton's been out all year with an Achilles. The side-arming right-hander Darren O'Day is out with an elbow injury. They've had Brad Brock, the Monmouth University product, closing games for them on the rare occasion when they've needed a closer. Now 3-0 to Cabrera with Conforto on deck.
Britton should be back pretty soon, though, right?
Yeah, he's in AAA on rehab right now. He's another guy who's a free agent at the end of the year and may well get traded once he establishes he's healthy. Cabrera swinging 3-0 and comes up empty.
See a lot more of that in today's game. I think that has to do with the love affair front offices have with the home run.
Already seen Trumbo and Cabrera swing 3-0 tonight. And as Asdrubal pulls one to right, over comes Trumbo to get it. 2 out.
Well, Britton, to me, if he's healthy, don't you, if you're the Houston Astros, have to look seriously at Zach Britton?
It's the one area where their club could really use the help is in the bullpen. I mean, they lost confidence in Ken Giles in the postseason last year, and he's done nothing to inspire confidence this year. Here's Conforto, who's flied out and struck out. The other problem the Astros have right now, the Seattle Mariners, who are maybe the biggest surprise in baseball right now. They lose Robbie Cano and they go on a tear. 15 games over 500 now and sitting in first place in that division.
They got a good start the other night from Felix Hernandez, who really needed one. James Paxton, the big maple, has been great.
Conforto flies one to shallow center. In comes Jones to get it. And Alex Cobb keeps on rolling. A 1-2-3 bottom of the 6th. We go to the 7th. 2-1 Baltimore. 2-1 Baltimore. Seth Lugo starts his second inning of relief facing Chris Davis. Chris Davis began this game with the lowest batting average and the lowest slugging percentage of any qualifying hitter in the major leagues, and the second lowest on base percentage. Tonight he's walked and flied out 0 for 1.
Love that pitch by Lugo. Just get him off the plate a little bit. Do what you have to do on the outside part of the plate. Change up here. He really knows what he's doing, Lugo. It's if you're a young person out there that wants to be a pitcher, watch this man operate.
I love listening to him talk about pitching, because he's probably about as eloquent as anybody on this staff, talking about how he pitches and how he uses his stuff to set up hitters.
Oh, good curve right there.
That's his first strikeout as he fans Davis, 1 out in the 7th.
That's his. Go ahead, Ron.
I was just going to say, so fastball in off the plate, then he throws changeup, swing through, and then comes back with a curveball down and in. 3 different pitches on. I mean, that's just a beautiful way to pitch. That's the grip. Just casts it out there, and he has that great spin rate, as we all know. So that's why you get the late break.
So 4 up and 4 down for Lugo. Now he faces the rookie catcher Austin Wynns, who's 1 for 2 in his big league debut. And the curveball in for a strike. Michael Givens is up in the Orioles bullpen. With the pitcher spot due up next. Alex Cobb has thrown 99 pitches through 6 quality innings.
It's funny how all these. That's Alex Cobb in the on-deck circle, isn't it?
It is, but
maybe
we'll see whether he actually bats.
Yep. I mean, who's he kidding?
There's Givens getting ready. And a good curveball to strike out Wins. Back-to-back strikeouts for Lugo. So 2 out. We check in with Doug Williams in the studio for another game break. They didn't bring in the lefty to face him.
They needed to get out a candlestick. Oh, excuse me.
Well, Jake Arrieta had some very pointed words for his team.
That's Candlestick Park. Oh my, that's a fine.
And Cobb batting for himself, rolls 1 out to Cabrera, and Lugo's got 2 perfect innings of relief, and we'll see whether Cobb goes back to the mound for the bottom of the 7th. Stretch time, 2-1 Baltimore. Field today. They drew the post positions for the Belmont Stakes, which comes up this Saturday. Big crowd expected as Justify tries to win a Triple Crown, and Justify drew the inside post for his trainer Bob Baffert.
I don't know, racing, is that good or bad, the inside post?
Well, it depends on the track.
You get squeezed out, right?
Well, there's such a long backstretch at Belmont in that mile and a half.
So you can work your way out.
Yeah. Todd Frazier leads off and takes up and away for ball one from Michael Givens, who's come on in relief for the Orioles after Cobb took the turn at bat.
Yeah, he's been a big part of this bullpen the last couple of years. A converted shortstop.
Frazier drives one to left, overcomes Mancini to pick it off for the first out. So Todd now 0 for 3 in his return from the disabled list.
I like Givens. I know he's gotten off to a slow start, so has most of the Orioles, but he's a strike thrower and goes right after you, and he's got a little bit of flair.
Yeah. Here's Jay Bruce, who had the Mets' first hit, a single off the glove of the first baseman Davis, and he came around to score in the 5th. I remember in the wild card game 2 years ago. Remember the game where the Orioles and the Blue Jays were tied late, and Buck Showalter took so much criticism. That's looped to center field, and Jones will have to play it on a hop and almost let it go by as he barehands it, and Bruce has his second hit. So Jay hit it off the end of the bat and found a little fortune, and the Mets have their third hit of the night.
He's angry at Machado. I think he's telling him to give me a little talk and let me know it's shallow. I don't know why he's upset. Off the end of the bat.
Is there a way for an infielder to let an outfielder know that the ball was hit off the end of the bat?
Well, it can't be. Yeah, I agree, Ron.
Yeah,
please. That's asking a lot. And it wasn't Machado. Machado was playing the pull. He was talking to the second baseman.
Talk to me.
Oh.
So now Plawecki with the tying run at first and one out. He's walked and then doubled down the left field line. And takes a fastball in the corner from Givens, and it's 0-2. Anyway, that wild card game 2 years ago, the Orioles wound up losing it without ever using their best reliever, Zach Britton. But Givens in that game was perfect for 2 1/3 innings in relief against Toronto.
In fact, how they lost it is Buck, as Plawecki strikes out in 3 pitches. Buck went to Ubaldo Jimenez instead of Zach Britton. Givens on the side of that baseball, that little cutting action that works its way away from Plawecki.
So 2 out. Anthony Swarzak just off the disabled list today and getting ready in the Mets bullpen. Out for 2 months with an oblique injury. I don't think he expected to be out that long. Here's Gonzalez, who fouls one back.
So he's got a little bit of a turn, a little bit of a flare, shows you his number and his name, and then some rapid fire stuff on the side.
He's a hard thrower.
Yep.
You know those right-handers from Tampa, they have flair.
That's right.
Second round pick out of Plant High School in Tampa in 2009. What was Doc? Doc went to Hillsborough, right?
Yes, Hillsborough. I think Tampa Jesuit is a big school there where a lot of ball players come from.
Pinella.
Yep. Dave Magadan, I think, played there.
Tino Martinez.
Tino.
Devin Mesoraco on deck to pinch hit if Gonzalez can keep the inning going. He's flied out twice tonight, and that goes to the backstop, and that'll move the tying run into scoring position. So a wild pitch from Givens, and now the Mets are a base hit away from getting even.
Some kind of off-speed pitch, secondary pitch. Not much winds can do with that.
Givens checking out the position of his infield. With a runner at second, they have to move Valencia a little closer to third. He sells that one outside. 2-2 to Gonzalez. Pitcher spot due up next with Mesoraco waiting. Alex Cobb went 6, allowed just a run on 2 hits, and now Gibbons in the 7th. And he strikes out Gonzalez on a fastball out of the strike zone. Back-to-back strikeouts for Gibbons to get himself through the bottom of the 7th. On to the 8th, 2-1 Orioles. Lugo has faced 6, retired 6, and required only 16 pitches to do it. Top of the batting order, Trey Mancini leads off in the 8th inning. So Lugo's return to the bullpen is seamless, as was his one-spot start. Mancini's 1 for 3, single to lead off the game and scored a run. The Orioles got both their runs in the first off Jason Vargas. And Lugo paints the outside corner, and it's 0-2. Adam Jones and Manny Machado to follow in the top of the 8th. Two teams struggling for runs, struggling again tonight.
There it is. You can go now. Bye.
Curveball bounced on the left side. Frazier lets it go from Rosario. The long throw on a hop can't be handled by Gonzalez, and Mancini is safe at first. It'll be an infield hit for Mancini, his 2nd hit of the night.
Plenty planted there, and a little sinker at the last minute.
First base coach Wayne Kirby with the call. The ball comes up and hits Mancini.
Got a pinch runner for the Orioles. Craig Gentry running for Mancini. Gentry a much better outfielder as well, so he'll stay in for defense. And here's Adam Jones. So Lugo had retired 6 in a row, gives up the base hit to Mancini. Jones is 1 for 3 tonight, and first pitch swinging, fouls it off his leg. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. A member of the 3008 club with the lowest batting average.
I'm all. Oh,
yeah, that makes sense. He played a lot of games to get to 3,000.
That's the understatement of the year.
All right, so here's the next question. Who's got the 2nd lowest? I've got it in front of me. So
Tony Oliva.
no. Lou Brock.
a one-time Met.
Mays.
Nope. He's at 302 for his career.
One-time Met.
Yes.
Whitey didn't have 3,000 hits, did he?
What's that?
Ashburn?
No.
Speedster. Oh, Ricky Henderson?
Yes. 279. Although his on-base percentage was extraordinary. 0-2 to Adam Jones.
By the way, I would like to say I never want to play charades with Dave Freed, trying to give us the clue. He was almost apoplectic up here, trying to show us running.
Did you see
what his running
Did
would
you
look
see
like?
the other thing he was doing?
No, I didn't.
Not only was he giving you running, he was giving you cards, dealing cards.
Oh.
Rosario with the flip to Cabrera, the turn in time for the double play. That ball was not hit hard. Adam Jones not running well, and the Mets turn 2.
Comes and gets the ball. Quick shovel.
I think Jones was not running well. Remember, he fouled the ball off his toe in that at bat.
So the Mets, who've turned the fewest double plays of any team in the National League, get their 39th of the year. Yeah, he's limping coming off, so that must have affected him to some extent. Buck Showalter has his bench coach on the phone to see if they want to challenge this call, but I wouldn't think so.
Oh, God, he was out by a mile.
There was nothing to challenge. John Russell, the bench coach for the Orioles. So 2 out and nobody on for Machado. And he takes the first pitch curve for a strike. Machado singled in a run, stole a base in the first. He's flied out twice since then. Good fastball by Lugo at 96. Curveball hit back to Lugo. Great stop. Side retired. What an athletic play by Lugo on a ball that was by him. Somehow found it on the backhand. Nicely done. Spun him right down, and he spun right back up. Still 2-1 Baltimore. Luis Guillorme will pinch hit for Seth Lugo, leading off in the bottom of the 8th. Craig Gentry stays in the game in left field after pinch running for the Orioles. Guillorme 2 for 5 as a pinch hitter. Rosario and Nimmo to follow for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th. It's a 1-run game. You've got the pitcher spot leading off. You've got Jose Reyes in the dugout, and you're not using it.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about how far Reyes' stock has fallen?
Yeah, you go to a rookie to lead off the inning instead.
Guy known more for his glove than his bat. Yorme played second base on Sunday, went 0 for 4, 2 for 16 in the series against the Cubs. He had been playing a lot of the third base with Frazier out, now into a utility role. And Givens misses high, 2-2. Mets have had just 3 hits tonight. They had just 3 hits on Sunday in their shutout loss to the Cubs. Jay Bruce has 2 of the 3 hits. Kevin Plawecki has the other. And Guillorme fights off the fastball. We'd like to give a shout out to Superfan winners of the SNY Superfan Sweepstakes, courtesy of Fios by Verizon. With the 100% fiber optic network, you've got the best place to watch your Mets all season long. Visit sny.tv/Fios. 2-2 coming, and Guillorme hits a slow ground ball for Scope to handle. 1 out.
A little changeup or something from Givens.
Yes, he
that was
did.
nice.
After a fastball in.
Yep.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Rosario, who was at a comebacker and struck out, 0 for 2. Lefty Richard Blyer is up in the bullpen for Baltimore, with Nimmo, a left-hand hitter, on deck. And Givens behind 2-0 on Rosario. There's Blyer.
Oh.
And Rosario with the evasive maneuver. 3-0.
Givens can be wild at times. We've seen, even though he's gotten these out so far, he's been off the mark a few times.
And there's ball 4. Rosario walks for the 8th time this year. The Mets have a speedy tying runner at first base. Buck Showalter quickly heading to the mound, and he'll bring in the lefty to face Nimmo. So Givens out, Blyer in. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. 2-1 Orioles in the 8th. We'll be right back. 31-year-old Richard Blyer is in for the Orioles.
Doesn't walk anybody, but that's a lot of hits for a reliever. Had a great March and April, struggling a little in May.
And he throws a first pitch fastball in for a strike to Nimmo, who has struck out 3 times tonight. Second time this year he's struck out 3 times in a game. The first one was Saturday. He's 0 for his last 13 with 8 strikeouts in that span. Rosario, the tying run at first. Tougher to run with the lefty in the game. And Nimmo takes the fastball outside 1-1. The numbers are not good. Just 3 steals and 7 tries for Rosario. Got a rookie catcher behind the plate, so who knows? Austin Wynns catching his first game in the major leagues. And Nimmo pushes a bunt. Valencia will go to first with it. Wide throw off the bag. Davis and everybody's safe. Well, Valencia had plenty of time to throw out Nimmo, but his throw pulled Davis off the bag. And the Mets have the tying and go-ahead runs on base.
Well, this has got to be an E5. He's there. Perfect. Just missed. Bad throw. He's clearly off, and what are they going to give it? A base hit? Come on.
E5.
Yep.
No sacrifice, which is the proper scoring. Nimmo clearly was bunting for a hit, not a sack. So the Mets have a chance here in the 8th with the tying run Rosario at second, the go-ahead run Nimmo at first. Lots of speed out there, and Cabrera at the plate trying to break out of a slump. Cabrera 0 for his last 13, 1 for his last 24 as he faces Richard Blyer.
When Cabrera is struggling, I like him better from the right side of the plate. I think he's a better line drive hitter and uses the whole field. More of a threat when he's off.
And a fastball in the corner, 0-1. Cabrera tonight has struck out, grounded out, and flied out. Brad Brock, who's been serving as the Orioles closer, gets up here in the 8th inning. And Cabrera fouls it away. And it's 0-2.
Mets are in this position because of the 9 outs that Seth Lugo got.
Lugo just is such a value-added piece of that bullpen.
So economical in his pitches.
27 pitches in 3 innings.
Randy Jones like.
Throws a lot harder than Randy.
Oh,
by the way.
yes, he does.
Jerry's Familia and Anthony Swarzak both up in the Mets bullpen. Probably a Familia if the Mets tie or take the lead. Swarzak if they don't. And Cabrera lays off. It's just outside 1-2. Michael Conforto waiting on deck.
Do we get a gripe from the catcher? Oh man, that could have gone either way. That's a little. You want that pitch, don't you, Ronnie?
Yeah, but fortunate call there for Cabrera. Non-call, sorry.
Double play ball right to Machado. And Scope makes the turn for the 6-4-3 double play, and that gets the Orioles out of the inning. To the 9th, 2-1 Baltimore. Center is back, teaming up with the New York Jets. We're looking to help local football leagues with grants, equipment donations, clinics, and Jets game experiences. Does your league need assistance? Apply today at sny.tv/playball. For the first time since the second game of the season, Anthony Swarzak takes the mound for the Mets.
He was signed after an outstanding year with both Chicago and then traded over to Milwaukee. 70 games.
Danny Valencia, first man to face him. So Swarzak missed 54 games with an oblique injury. Valencia drove in a run with a first inning sacrifice fly. 0 for 2 tonight. Seth Lugo keeping the Mets in the game with 3 terrific innings of relief. He allowed just an infield hit, faced the minimum, struck out 2 through just 27 pitches in 3 innings. But the Mets lacking for offense, and Swarzak trying to keep this a 1-run game into the bottom of the 9th. And the Mets will have Conforto, Frazier, and Bruce coming up.
Good breaking ball.
That slider is a pitch that he refined over the last couple of years to get him to the point where he had that big season last year.
That and the 4-seam fastball. He was always a guy that kind of had a sinker. Instead, now up in the zone with that high heat.
And there it is to strike out Valencia for the first out.
You know, it's an interesting time to be a pitcher in baseball right now, because you can go through a lineup at times where many of the hitters in the lineup have the same approach. So if you have the high fastball working with the breaking ball, you really don't have to alter at all for any of the individual hitters.
Mark Trumbo is 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts tonight, and takes a slider for a strike. Trumbo 1 for 8 in his career against Swarzak. Tonight's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. Jason Vargas, not bad. Alex Cobb, much better. Came into the night with a 6.8 ERA. Allowed just 2 hits over 6 innings. Three sliders in a row, and that one caught the corner, 1-2.
Good paint right there.
Last year, when Swarzak had his breakout season, he threw his slider 52% of the time. That's a lot.
Gets ahead with the slider and then goes upstairs.
1-2 coming. And Trumbull lays off the fastball away, 2-2. Jonathan Scope on deck for the Orioles. We're trying to snap a 7-game losing streak. It's trying to snap a losing streak of their own. They've dropped 4 in a row and 9 of their last 11. And now 3-2.
Home losing streak too, don't they? Mets.
6 in a row at home now.
Yeah.
Well, the Orioles, I mean, the Mets are now 12-17 at home. That's not good. But the Orioles on the road, 7-23. But they lead tonight in the 9th. And they'll have Brad Brock on to try and close into the bottom of the 9th. 3-2 coming. And he missed ball 4. Kept everything away from Trumbo and missed with a 3-2 fastball.
Another borderline strike right there. Home plate umpire Sam Holbrook. Hitter's umpire.
We'll get a pinch runner for Trumbo. Joey Rickard will come in to run for him. Give him a better defensive outfielder as well. So 1 out and 1 on. Here's Jonathan Scope, who's 1 for 3 tonight. Single back in the 4th. Scope is 1 for 3 against Swarzak. And takes fastball knee high for a strike.
Swarzak looking good.
Made 3 rehab assignments in the minors before being activated today. pitching for his 6th different major league team. Slider in the dirt, 1-2. Last year was his breakout season, pitching for the White Sox and later for the Brewers.
91 Ks and 77 in the third.
I mean, he had been a journeyman player. Started out his career as a starter with the Twins, went to the Indians, the Yankees. Never really hit his stride until last year, and the Mets rewarded him with a 2-year contract. And he was supposed to be a very important piece in the Mets bullpen, which survived without him for the first 3-4 weeks of the season. But after that, the combination of starters not getting deep into games and the lack of Swarzak has caused the bullpen to frequently melt down. Now the Mets are hoping with Lugo back in the pen, Swarzak back healthy, that maybe things can solidify. 1-2 coming. Past the mound, but right to the second base bag for Cabrera. The step and throw for the double play. 4-4-3 double play ends the top of the 9th. Now the Mets will have their 3, 4, and 5 hitters coming up in the bottom of the 9th. Conforto, Frazier, and Bruce, as the Mets try and rally from behind, down 2-1, heading to the bottom of the 9th. With live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Joey Rickard moves into left field. Craig Gentry from left field to right field, and Freehold, New Jersey native Brad Brock will come on to try and save it for the Orioles.
Well, his only blown save was on opening day. He's 8 for 8 since then.
Michael Conforto leads off the last of the 9th and takes a fastball for a strike. Conforto 0 for 3 tonight, 2 fly balls and a strikeout. Mets have been held to 3 hits after they managed just 3 hits in their loss on Sunday. And Conforto pops one up behind third base. Valencia in fair territory grabs it, 1 out. Brad Brock took over as the closer for the Orioles last year during a period when Zach Britton was out, saved 18 games. 8 more this year. He was an all-star 2 years ago as a setup man. We first saw him in a Padres uniform. He's had a really nice career.
Yes, he has.
There's Todd Frazier, first game back from the DL. He's gone 0 for 3. Hit the ball pretty hard his last time up, lining out to left field. Full shift on against Todd. And he pops up the first pitch. Davis coming across the line. And on 3 pitches, Brock gets 2 pop-ups, and the Mets are down to their final out of the night. Coming up tonight after the postgame, Geico Sports Night, the baseball, the football, the horse racing. We don't often say the horse racing. Well, Brad Brock has had a pretty easy time of it getting the first 2 outs here in the ninth. The Mets have scored 7 runs in their last 5 games, including tonight, and they're down to their final out in this one. Jay Bruce has 2 of the Mets' 3 hits in this game. Singled off the first baseman's glove in the 5th, blooped one to center in the 7th. He scored the only Mets run. And he takes the first pitch fastball outside for ball 1. Bruce has a hit in his only career at bat against Brock. And now it's 2-0. Kevin Plawecki would be next. 32-year-old Brad Brock, who went to Monmouth University, played for the Hawks. Beautiful campus. Great new gym there. Taking low 3-0.
Be very careful with Jay Bruce with Plawecki on deck.
Would you have him swinging?
I wouldn't.
And he takes a strike. Jay Bruce has been stuck on 3 home runs and 15 RBIs for a long time. Be a nice place to get unstuck. Goes after the changeup, and now it's 3-2.
It's a nasty change.
So now the Mets are down to their final strike. Three-two coming, and he takes it high, ball 4, and the Mets have the tying run aboard. Bruce is on base for the 3rd time tonight, and Plawecki will try and make something of it. Kevin has walked, doubled into the left field corner, the Mets' only extra base hit in this game, and then struck out in the 7th against Michael Gibbons.
Well, it was the Bruce Plawecki combo in the 5th that really was responsible for the Mets' only run.
Plawecki is homerless this season. And he has to turn out of the way of that inside fastball. First 2 outs came easily for Brock. The 3rd one not as simple. If Plawecki keeps it going, Adrian Gonzalez would be next. And Plawecki fouls it back this way. 1-1. Plawecki's last home run came last September 26th off R.A. Dickey. Oh. No knuckleballs here. Bruce at first and 2 out. And that's outside. Are you surprised that we don't have a pinch runner for Bruce? Reyes is available.
I'm surprised. Saw that use of it by Buck Showalter.
And a slider in for a strike, and again the Mets are down to their final strike. Merely spectating. That scoots a few feet away from Wins, but not far enough for Bruce to make a move. After the 2nd straight time, a 3-2 count.
Well, Brock does not want to have Adrian Gonzalez come up. This is the man he wants to get right here.
Well, now Bruce gets the automatic start. Give him a little better chance of scoring on a double. 3-2 coming, and Plawecki pops it up. Wins, and Davis makes the catch, and the Orioles win the opening game of this 2-game series. The Mets lose their 5th in a row. Baltimore snaps a 7-game losing streak as the Mets are held to 3 hits for the 2nd straight game as Baltimore wins it 2-1.
Well, this is a tough loss, another tough one, disheartening. The offense just keeps really getting stuck in neutral. And boy, I tell you what, the day game tomorrow.
30th home game for the Mets, Kate, this year. They've only scored 98 runs.
Mets have lost 5 straight games and scored a total of 7 runs in the 5 games to fall 4 games under 500 as their mark keeps on sinking. Tonight's game summary presented by Fios by Verizon. Alex Cobb pitched very well, 6 innings, 2 hits. Jason Vargas gave up 2 runs in the first, and that was enough to beat him tonight as the Mets continue to struggle at the plate. And the Orioles, who came in at 17-41 with the worst record in baseball, get themselves a rare chance to shake hands after the game. Baltimore wins 2-1. We'll be right back.